Cardinal George Pell, Pope Francis' top financial counselor and the Vatican's economy minister, has been charged and convicted of the molestation of two adolescents in the 1970s when he was a young adult priest. Pell maintained his innocence to the bitter end, even holding his head down in the courtroom during deliberations. This comes behind the recent dismissal of Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who was also charged with abusive behavior toward adults and minors while holding his seat as a high priest. This topic will be tackled by our UK correspondent, Dr. Ceirion Dewar. How are you, Dr. Dewar?
I'm good, thank you, ma'am. How are you?
Wonderful, thanks. Let's go ahead and get started. So, do these priests think that they are safe from legalities because of the statutes of limitations or maybe some other reasoning? I mean, why does this keep happening, Dr. Kai?
I don't think it's because of a statute of limitations in any country. I think it's because the Catholic Church has a history of removing what we would call problem priests from areas, dioceses that have had incidents with this. Thankfully, though, that's no longer the case, and Pope Benedict XVI issued a ruling on that when he sat on the throne of St. Peter as Pope, that now Catholic priests found to be connected to child molestation or sexual abuse must be reported to the police. So rules that once applied no longer apply to any priest at any rank within the Catholic Church.
So what do you feel makes the culture of abuse so prevalent in the Catholic Church? I mean, they're not the only ones, in this religion that this has happened with, but it's more prevalent, it seems, with Catholics than it is in some other religions. Why is that?
I believe that the Catholic Church's role of celibacy of the priesthood is a completely unnatural state for any man or woman to be in. The problem is when you're forced into an environment where you're forbidden from exercising natural human emotions, natural human feelings, you will turn your attention to whatever is available. And that is the dangerous ground, because in that case, then perversion enters the human heart, enters the human mind, and we end up with this whole collegiate atmosphere of sexual abuse that has been so prevalent, particularly amongst Roman Catholic priests and bishops throughout the last hundreds of years.
And with you saying that, I guess, I hate to say it this way, but do you think there might be almost a sense of entitlement with the Catholic faith to behave in this manner because of those strict rules that apply to them?
I wouldn't necessarily say I think it's a case of entitlement. I would say that to me and my experiences with Roman Catholicism and with sexual abuse in other denominations, I would say that it's this position of being untouchable, which was so much the case for so many years. It's only since maybe 2008, 2010 that priests are now being formally charged, whereas for many, many years, way back for hundreds of years, if there was any form of child abuse or sexual abuse, not just of children, but of females or other priests, the priest in question was either placed on what they called administrative leave or simply moved to another diocese. Now, in history, it's shown that they were moved to third world countries where there is less scope for reporting such abuses, and that abuse has been found to have continued in far greater numbers and on a far greater scale. I don't think we've seen the full extent of the decades of damage that have been done by predatory priests and sexual abusers within the Catholic Church or other denominations.
Well, and as you say that, just to piggyback, there has been much scandal on the rape of nuns in the Catholic Church by cardinals, having women to even have forced abortions or having the children and not even acknowledging the birth. So when it comes to this abuse, what do you think is really the missing piece for charging these cardinals to prevent further damage? I mean, obviously cardinals and priests.
Well, thankfully, as I said before, Pope Benedict XVI has brought in that measure. Under Pope Francis now, they're very much pursuing it at a far greater scale. And that is simply that any priest to be found linked to any form of sexual abuse or sexual conduct is immediately reported to the police if there are minors or if there is a genuine case of abuse with victims involved. I think the culture of being untouchable, of being above the people, and therefore, this whole mindset of if I report it, I will be an outcast from the church, is now moving away from the priesthood as it was, and priests are no longer safe from the abuses that they have once committed. That said, in the case of Cardinal Pell being committed, I would say that after 2 trials, I still think the jury's out on that one. I think they've made a wrong decision just purely based on the evidence I've read in the last 48 hours. It was circumstantial at best and absolutely zero corroboration. So whereas there are provisions now in place to deal with problematic priests and predatory priests, we must also be mindful not to judge everybody in the court of public opinion and hang them by that opinion, rather to establish facts and corroborated evidence sufficient for legal trials.
Dr. Dewar, I think that is an interesting take. I'm going to have to cut this one short, but thank you for your take on this, and we will be looking for more. We thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch us. We hope that you're right here tomorrow night for more Onyx News. I'm Brittany Brackett, and this has been Onyx News, news from a Black perspective. Good night.